These days it's tiny. Just enough for one person. Ah, naturally. Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by, coming at you for a video, or a Blu-ray review rather, that I didn't really expect to be making anytime sooner this year, and I'm delighted. Absolutely, completely, totally delighted to be making it. I'm coming at you to review, this is just crazy even saying it, the Blu-ray of The Black Hole. Yes, that's right. It came out, and it's under kind of, well, very, shall we say, very frustrating circumstances. So basically, as we all know, or as we all might not know, it's the 40th anniversary of the absolutely, what I would regard as the absolutely fantastic Disney movie by the name of The Black Hole. And I did a review, I think like 3 months ago in the spring of this movie. I did like a nearly hour-long review of the movie, gushing over how much I love this movie and how important it is to me. And then I did a review of the CD soundtrack, the complete special edition CD soundtrack that came out, well, a long time ago, I think almost 10 years ago. And I mentioned in my review of the movie this spring that it's just it's just a bummer if this year comes and goes without a Blu-ray release, for its 40th anniversary. And lo and behold, basically very quietly, this came out on August 13th this year, if I'm not mistaken. And the thing that sucks the most about it is it's a special presentation of the Disney Movie Club. It says Anniversary Edition and then Disney Blu-ray exclusive. From what I understand, basically, you have to belong to some kind of, I don't know what the hell it is, obviously a Disney Movie Club, to get this Blu-ray. Incidentally, I got mine off eBay. I'd much rather, pay a scalper, give money to a scalper who's just trying to get by and feed his kids than give any money, to Disney. I just try really, really, really hard not to give money to Disney, so I wasn't gonna I don't know what would even be involved in getting this officially from the movie club, but I'm not gonna give Disney any more money than I have to. So one thing that has been said already, you like that? I just keep doing that randomly. It's just I just can't believe I'm holding the Black Hole Blu-ray in my hand, and the cover is basically the same as the official Disney DVD release that came out. I'm not exactly thrilled with the cover, incidentally. It would have been so cool and hip to have some of the original poster art used, but whatever. That's really not the most important part of this release. I forgot what I was going to say. I think what I was going to say, getting on to the review of the Blu-ray, is that I read briefly in some forums or something like that, that one of the biggest complaints about the Blu-ray, and it's understandable but not a big deal to me as I didn't listen to the overture. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if the first DVD ever released, which was the Anchor Bay one, I don't remember if that had the overture or not, but the official Disney home video DVD release of The Black Hole, that's pretty much sports the same cover, did have the overture. And from what I can tell, the overture to The Black Hole is basically just that, the heroic music that happens later on in the movie when they're rescuing Kate and fighting the Sentry robots and all this kind of stuff. Just the dun 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 da 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 da, like that theme. So I mean, you basically hear that music later on in the movie. So to me, having the overture isn't that big a deal. Yes, I agree with the people who are complaining. Ultimately, it would have been a better package to just have it there and just have it be its own chapter, and then if you wanted to skip it, you could just press next and it would go to the opening of the movie. So that's probably, I wouldn't call it my biggest complaint about the movie, but I just wanted to confirm any misunderstandings regarding that, that yes, indeed, the overture is gone. To me, I never watched it anyway, so it's really not a big deal to me. And what I will say, when the movie started, holy Toledo, I never thought that I'd see this year, and I'm so glad I did, to see the movie in this clarity. And instantly when the opening credits open and stuff, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just the words are so clear. And then when the movie starts, you're instantly aware how inside the Palomino, how oh my gosh, in a lot of cases inside the Palomino, some of the scenes even look brighter than I've ever seen before. Obviously the definition is just absolutely, completely and totally expanded and absolutely wonderful. I mean, when you have a close-up on Vincent now, sometimes it almost looks like a freeze frame, and it's not, because things are moving in the frame or whatever. But if you've got a close-up on Vincent's tin head or whatever, or body, you can just see like all of the, like every little detail in his silver medal and all this kind of stuff. I can't, instantly when the movie starts and you have the interiors inside of the Palomino, I mean, I can't express how sharp and bright and clear, crisp, crystal clear and crisp the movies look. And I should say that now this is going to be only in shots that don't have any visual effects work. For 1979, this movie has a lot of like blue screen and kind of optical effects stuff. And I will say, obviously, when you do a movie, a higher resolution scan of a 40-year-old movie, what's going to ultimately happen is you're going to be able to see through some of the visual effects, more than you'd ever had in the DVD releases. You're gonna, the visual effects aren't gonna, the higher res scan you get, the visual effects aren't going to hold up as well as in the, the VHS or the DVD releases. And obviously that is what happens. When you have optical effects and blue screen shots and stuff, the picture, the image quality is much less agreeable and much less sharp. And so I do want to stress that the movie really, the Blu-ray really shines on non-optical shots. Shots where there's no blue screen or any kind of matte work or anything like that done. Just pick, just an image shot of a set or whatever without any of that stuff. The image is great. Unfortunately, it's hit or miss, to be honest, with any kind of optical shots. Some of them, the colored timing, or the, some cases even, some of the visual effect shots of the ship in the early scene of the Palomino getting sucked towards a black hole and stuff. There's shots that I was actually really surprised at, just how, like, bright, overly bright they are. Just a shot-by-shot visual effect shot basis. I'm like, oh my god. They can't even do a better job at matching shots together. From one shot to the next, it's like, it looks good, and then the next shot's just, oh my god, why is that one spot look like that? They couldn't have fixed that. And then they'll cut to another shot which might not look so bad. So I will say that, not to completely praise this Blu-ray release, that unlike anything we've ever really seen so far in home video, some of the visual effects shots, here and there, it's sporadic, kind of just make you go, oh, what the hell, why does that look like that? So in my opinion, there's really no reason some of those shots have to look like that. It would have been nice if they could have taken some time to try to make them look better than that, or maybe that's just how the elements have aged now when they did the scan. I don't know, but it should be said that this isn't some kind of flawless, absolutely perfect Blu-ray presentation. But for the most part, as I said, when you're looking at just footage shot on set, shots that don't have any matte work or opticals, you're really treated to a treat. Yes, I'm having a hard time finding my words. But another thing, before I forget to mention it, that's just like the Sentry robots, not to mention, Maximilian, the red robot and stuff, like they look so just crisp, and being able to see the Sentry robots and Maximilian in high definition, crisp glory, like the red of the robots, Sentry robots and Maximilian just looks so absolutely fantastic. And it's really weird, because I read like the Blu-ray, Blue-Ray review on blue-ray.com, and it's just like the guy talks about being able to see wires, now that the high definition transfer, is more clear than any way we've ever seen this movie before. Obviously the wires show all the more, and he must not have watched the whole movie, because guess what? Just like with the Blu-ray release of Rocketeer, and one could, have a problem with this. I'm kind of neither here nor there about it. They actually erased all of the wires supporting characters in the weightless scenes, and mostly the robots and Vincent and Bob when they're floating around. All the wires, from what I can see, have been removed, which I gotta tell you, I'd almost probably rather have that be the case than see the wires, to be honest, because even on DVD, the wires in some of the shots were like, oh my god, just so blatantly there. Imagine how blatant they'd be on Blu-ray. So as much as one could say it's rewriting history, and I completely and 100% totally agree with you, it is kind of rewriting history. And I don't know, in a perfect world you'd have two discs, one with the wires and one with the wires removed. I can't say that it really, you know, bugs me too much. I mean, let's face it, there's a aspect of it that's really cool to 40 years later be able to see this movie as the filmmakers would have rather have liked to have it been seen, with the robots hovering around and even coming up to camera pretty close, and the wires being not visible whatsoever. So it's like I say, I can understand both sides of the argument. It's rewriting history, it's altering the movie as how it originally was when it came out 40 years ago, but at the same time it's kind of cool to be able to see it in this way, where we're not just like, you know, it's hampered by the wires, you know, holding the robots, and we can actually experience the movie the way it was meant, at the risk of, you know, sounding like George Lucas, meant to be intended. So my biggest complaints about the image overall is towards the end of the movie, where a lot of scenes, there's you know, a lot of scenes basically maybe not a lot, but there's several scenes that consist of basically just being like nothing but red. Some of the shots of the Cygnus, you know, being, you know, sucked into the black hole and like just sitting there in the opening of the black hole, just like rotating like this, on fire and smoky and just all damaged and stuff. Some of the red, you know, you'd think the red scenes would be able to be reproduced relatively well. I mean, on Blu-ray they were reproduced well on DVD, but I was really shocked to see, in particular, the worst of it that I saw is that little battle between Vincent and Bob and Maximilian robots in that scene, where it's like basically all red, and Maximilian confronts them and shoots Bob, and you know, Vincent gallantly, you know, protects the crew or whatever. There's some scenes where basically, for all intents and purposes, I think pretty much every version I've seen up until now, I mean, that scene's basically just red. And I was, you know, probably my biggest disappointing factor with this Blu-ray was that there are some moments or some image, or, you know, some spots within the frame and various shots or whatever, where that red, instead of just being a beautiful uniform red, would turn like pink. You know, and to me, that's not how it was supposed to be. I mean, that's like a defect of the scan, or you know, something to do with the scan or whatever. So you'd have spots. It's kind of like, you know, if you have a scene that's too bright and there's some burnout or whatever. I mean, it's kind of like, instead of burnout just going white, it's like red burnout that's going pink. And that was probably my most disappointing. Oh, luckily that, you know, the red scenes don't take up very much of this movie's running time at all, so it's, in that regard, it's really not the biggest deal in the world. But I would have thought that Disney, you know, if they can remove the wires as well as they can, surely they could, you know, just have those brief red scenes be just a uniform red, instead of some, you know, spots, you know, turning pink briefly or whatever. But again, it's something that luckily doesn't last that too terribly long, so it's really not that big of a deal. But it definitely should be mentioned. You know, I'm trying to do a fair and unbiased, you know, Blu-ray review, so I'm not just going to come here and praise it and, you know, and bow down before it. I want to give both the good and the bads. You know, having watched Black Hole a couple times on DVD earlier this year in the spring, around the time I was reviewing it and stuff, I mean, you know, watching it on the 5.1 Dolby Digital, and you know, I was made well aware that, gosh, it seems like there was, you know, the soundtrack is great, and the separation between the discrete channels and stuff is great, but to me it seemed like there was this overall hiss, like, just, you know, because it's a movie from '79, it was just like, it seemed like there was a lot of hiss in general in the background, basically during the whole movie. Of course, you could hear it better in quiet scenes. That, when I watched the Blu-ray, I want to say that the hiss may have been greatly reduced. I think that, you know, I watched Black Hole maybe 2 or 3 times this year in the spring on the DVD, and you know, it seemed almost overwhelming. And when I watched the Blu-ray, it was like, oh my God, you know, I don't think the hiss is as bad. I think it might still be there to an extent, but I want to say, and this isn't something I can really be 100% sure of, but I'm pretty sure it seems like the hiss that was on the original Disney home video DVD on the audio, if you're watching 5.1 or whatever, but I think it would you know, translate to whatever way you're listening to this movie, even if it's just in stereo. From what I can, you know, hear, the hiss has been greatly reduced, almost, you know, well, we'll just say that. I don't think it's as bad as it was on the DVD. So I think that'll basically be my review of the Black Hole Anniversary Edition Disney Blu-ray exclusive Blu-ray release. of the black hole. I mean, how cool is it to finally have on Blu-ray? Unfortunately, you know, in a perfect world you'd have, as I said, 2 discs, one with wires, one without, and special features, interviews. I mean, I'm sure that, what's his name, would be, what the hell's his name, Robert Forster, would be more than happy to talk about black hole. Not one special feature to be found, unfortunately, but at the end of the day, what's the most important thing is to have the movie on Blu-ray. So this is the back, and it's kind of cool that it does say 2019 Blu-ray release, so you do have, I don't know if you can see it, but I don't know. Trust me, you do have a way of, you know, for us people who are, whatchamacallit, you know, I don't know, sentimental or whatever, you do have, it is printed on the Blu-ray release that it is like the 40th anniversary, but it doesn't say 40th, it just says anniversary edition. But I'm definitely, you know, obviously I paid probably twice as much for this as you would if it just came out at the store for normal or whatever, but being one of my absolutely favorite movies and something from my childhood that I just hold so near and dear, the price to me really wasn't that big a deal. So thank you very much for watching my review of the Black Hole Blu-ray. I just can't believe I'm saying it. I just gotta do it one more time. Black Hole Blu-ray. Oh my God. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video.